Welcome back to Silverstone, everybody, where we've got a big grid of cars, our biggest grid of the weekend, assembled on the start-finish straight, and it is for the modified Ford series, excuse me. We did look like we were missing one, maybe, from the grid. If we could get that shot back, I could probably try and figure out who it was. But hopefully 37 cars, it might be 36, because I think we're missing maybe David Matthias, or has he just pulled up maybe in a grid slot a bit too far back? I think he might. No, we should have 2 Sapphire Cosworths there, so I think we've got one of the Matthiases, but not the other one. We'll figure it out in a moment. But anyway, we've got in excess of 35 cars lined up on the grid, and this is always a real highlight of the weekend whenever the Modified Ford Series are in town. A huge grid, a good mix of cars as well, lots of different class battles to watch out for, and some pretty special machinery out there as well. Let's run through the grid. It'll take us a while. It is the Escort Mark 1 RSR of Jack Gadd that set the fastest time in what was a very competitive qualifying session. Top 4 drivers covered by only 9/10 of a second, so that sets us up well for an entertaining race. He's got Tommy Field in the Mark 1 RSR Escort alongside, so 2 very similar cars on the front row of the grid. Dave Cockle's 4-wheel drive Escort Cosworth starts from 3rd alongside Tom Ovenden in his Mark 1 RSR as well. Then Stephen Scotland-Woody and Malcolm Harding on row number 3. Lloyd Jameson and Scott Matthias on row 4, and then possibly David Matthias on row 5 alongside Steve Minton in the Escort Mark 2. Then the best of the Capris, that's Simon Light's 111 car alongside Paul Restall in the Sierra Cosworth on row number 6. 7th row, Mike Thurley and Tim Foxlow, Tyler England and Tony Paxman on row 8. Row 9, Mick Head and Malcolm Wise, a pair of Escort Cosworths, and the top 20 then completed by Gary Johnson and Chris Baker in a Mark 1 and a Mark 3 Escort, respectively. Don't see many Mark 3 Escorts racing, but Chris Baker's been a stalwart of this series for a little while now. 21st on the grid then is Oliver Bullion's Fiesta ST150, followed by a similar car of Aidan Morris alongside him on row 11. Row 12, Leroy Brown's Fiesta, and another Fiesta, or an ST180 this time, of Caitlin May. Then Ben Purnell and Todd Garner are next. We've got a whole load of Fiestas coming up actually towards the back of the grid. Gary Littlewood is in one. A Mark 4 Fiesta for Dave Barrett will share that row with him, and row 15 is where you find Kevin Hadfield's Puma. I think that's the only Puma entered this weekend. We normally get a handful of them out. Kevin on his own though in the Pumas this weekend. He's got John Ward alongside him on row 15. 16th row, Paul Soles, Mark 1 Ford Focus, and the Ford Fiesta of Dominic Ryan. Paul Neville and Colin Claxton are next ahead of Nigel Hunt and Mark Mitchell, with Wayne Crabtree coming in 37th on the grid. Although he didn't qualify, actually, Wayne Crabtree didn't set a lap time in qualifying, so might not be at the back of the field, but we should have everybody else there. Richard John Neal was practically sprinting back into the commentary box then, did not want to miss the start of the Modified Ford Series, and I can't say I blame him.
I was walking quickly, but a sprint is not in my vocab.
You could have got away with that then. People would have had an image of you.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate the perception management attempt there. Thank you.
I do my best for you.
Talking about perception management, we don't need any of that, do we, here, because we've got a fantastic grid. I can't get the words out. There aren't many sites as fine as this, I don't think, in UK motorsport. It is such a fantastic series, this, and not only do the cars look good, they sound good, they're proper old school racers, but one of the friendliest paddocks out there as well. You probably spend a bit more time wandering the paddock than I do these days, but any single one of these drivers will be more than happy to talk to you, more than happy to give you a little bit of time out of their day, and not just us as people who work with them, but spectators walking around the paddock as well. There's always a crowd of people around the Modified Fords. They love them. I'll tell you what, though, the bane of it at the moment is the guys in the regular Fords want to beat the RSRs.
Yes.
Because we've got the space frame RSRs, and like Dave Cockle was chatting to him this morning, he said, I want to beat those. I've got to try and beat those, he said, but it's hard work.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's see. He's starting from 3rd on the grid in the Escort Cosworth. I do like a Cosworth. There are a handful of them out on the grid for this one. Let's see what happens then. 15 minutes the duration for this first of 2 Modified Ford Series races here this afternoon from Silverstone. Lights go out now, and the thunder roars as they head towards Copse Corner for the first time. The 2 RSRs on the front row together, both seeming to get a pretty even start. On the inside line, Jack Gadd, and the outside, Tommy Field. Pole position, of course, for a rolling start being on the inside line, not the outside, as it has been for the rest of the weekend. And they all are on their tippy toes through Copse Corner, just trying to stay out of each other's way. It's Field, though, that's got the better of Jack Gadd at the start. And Dave Cockle comes steaming in 3rd place. That's how much he wants to try and beat the RSRs. But that's not really the best way to do it.
No, it's not. So anyone that says that we should be limiting series needs to have a proper think about that. From here, look at this.
Yeah.
I know we'd like them in championships and things like that, but
this is terrific, and I love it because you come along and say, "Oh, that car's here today."
That's Dave Cockle, who arrived backwards at Brooklands then. I think he had a bit of a brake failure or something because there was a pair of big black lines on the tarmac going into the corner. Dave Cockle's chances of beating the RSRs, unfortunately, have taken a bit of a dip in this one. Hopefully he can get going again because the grid for race 2, I'm pretty sure, is based upon the race results from race 1. So he'll want to try and get his way as close to the front as he can. But no, you're absolutely right. If this was a championship, I don't think we'd have 30 plus cars on the grid every round, because it's the joy of a series, isn't it? You can dip in and out. If you don't have the budget or the time to commit to a full season, a series is the way to go, and that is why this has continued to be so massively successful over recent years. Modified Ford series, less successful perhaps for Dave Cockle today, but he'll be back, I'm sure, in race 2 if he can't get the car going in this first one. But it is I don't think Stephen Scott Dunwoody is leading, is he? I think that timing screen might be slightly wrong. I had Tommy Field in the lead at the end of the opening lap.
Yeah, nice to see Tony Paxman back. Gonna give a shout out for Tony. Had an injury, had a sepsis in his foot, a bit nasty. Still wearing the boots, obviously not in the car. Qualified well. He's in the light blue 57 Mark 1 Escort, which is not an RSR.
No, it's not. That's a proper Escort, isn't it? And you see it doing battles in the midfield. Well, so, in my defence, part of the regulations for this series is that you don't actually have to have a Ford engine even, do you? And that's what the Super A and Super B classes are. They're for cars that look a bit like Fords, but actually underneath aren't really. And then in the classes further back, they are being actually propelled by Ford engines.
You're right.
So,
what I like about this is they're honest about it, unlike some of the classic touring cars or something like that, where you've got replicas that aren't actually original, and this is very open.
Exactly so you know exactly what you've got, and the cars look and sound great regardless. On the inside there goes the Capri, and on the outside David Matthias there losing out at Beckett's corner. A little bit of side-by-side action there up at the top end of the circuit, and the Capri, that thing is, I think, probably the fastest car in a straight line, isn't it? But getting around the corners is a challenge.
Only 5 litres, isn't it?
Is that all? It's just not enough, is it? Into the pit lane, by the way, has come a car with slightly less horsepower. That's the number 48 car, one of the Ford Focuses, and that is Paul Solb, another experienced driver within this series, who unfortunately has pulled, presumably, into retirement. Timing screen now correcting itself to put Tommy Field and Jack Gadd out in front, but look, only 0.3 of a second between them, and that's almost exactly what separated them in qualifying, but the other way round. Jack Gadd was 0.3 quicker than Tommy Field, so they are very evenly matched, those two, and it's a shame that Dave Cockle and Tom Ovenden at the moment aren't really part of that fight, because they were also within a second of the pole position time, as they're the 821 Fiesta of Mark Mitchell does its best to stay out of the way of some of the quicker cars, but already the quick cars coming round to lap the others, and that's the Sierra off up at Beckett's corner. David Matthias gets it all wrong under braking, and did well actually to pick his way back onto the road with no damage.
He did do well, didn't he? So 3/10 up from Gadd and Scott Dunwoody at the moment. Yeah, the field gets spread out fairly quickly. It was great. Tom Ovenden, you know, races in the JCW Mini category. To my mind, very old school, coming out and racing something else as well. And it's not just a one-off, he's here a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Proper old school in cars like these as well. But yeah, it's nice to see, isn't it? I think drivers that are particularly up-and-comers, you know, we sometimes see a touring car driver, a Tom Ingram or something, coming and having a go in other series. But when you're a kind of up-and-coming driver, you know, in one of those sort of feeder series, if you like, you can understand them wanting to focus all of their time, attention and money, let's be honest, on progressing their career. But you learn a lot from coming and racing in cars like this that you won't learn from racing in a JCW Mini, and you know, perhaps he's got an eye on racing something like GT cars or whatever in the future, and getting a bit of rear-wheel drive experience, a good idea for him. So yeah, nice to have him out on the grid. He's slipped back a bit from where he started, but seems to now be picking up the pace a little bit as we hit mid-race distance.
Trophies and podium for this one, top 3. Rather than going through, have time to run through all the classes, will we? We've got about 6.
Yes, although we do have lunch break after this, so you can fill a little bit of time. Yeah, we've got Super A, Super B, A, B+,
Some of my grades.
I was just thinking exactly the same.
Actually, no, they were class D and E.
Yes.
Probably is.
My thoughts exactly. Class C is the lowest you can go in this, and that was quite an achievement, to be honest, for me. So yes, a number of different classes to go through, all based basically on power to weight ratios and all sorts of technical things that I don't fully understand really. But generally speaking, the more powerful a car is, the higher its class will be. There is the 111 of Simon Light. He's just got ahead of Malcolm Harding. This for 6th position. Malcolm Harding
Harding is leading his class. That's Class B+, but he wants to try and regain this place as quickly as he can. I don't think he'll out-grunt the Capri, though, will he?
He's not going to, is he? Simon Light manages to get the better of him down the straight, and you missed the pun with Leroy Brown about the transponder.
Oh, I didn't spot that. No.
Bring it back, Leroy Brown. Chris Hosey's laughing. He hasn't got a clue what the joke's about.
I think maybe laughing at the look of amusement on my face.
Oh, right. Yeah. He's just laughing at my face.
Well, no comment. Tommy Field leads now, not by 0.3 of a second. What's happened here? He's 3.6 seconds now ahead of Jack Gadd. So maybe traffic. You can see they are very much in amongst the back markers now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And again, that's the beauty of this all racing. The drivers love it. They love the fact that you can get involved. Oh, intermittent, there we go, just to back up my dreadful attempt at a pun. Yeah, it's one of the things that the drivers enjoy. Even if you're out front and away, as Tommy Field is, you still have to exercise skill, discretion to get through some of the other classes, which is great racing.
Tom Ovenden there at the inside. Lloyd Jameson is that to the outside of him, I think, in the Cosworth, and going either side of a Capri as they head down the back straight. In fact, that is the Capri, isn't it, of Simon Light, and he almost lent there on Tom Ovenden, I think, as they went into Beckett, and out wide goes the number 45 car, and trying his best to stay out of everybody's way. Stephen Scotton-Woody, in fact, no, he was running in third place, so Stephen Scotton-Woody drifting back. So what does all of this mean? I think that might put Lloyd Jameson into third, with Tom Ovenden trying to get up the inside of him now as they head towards the end of another lap. Let's get that confirmed. Yes, Jameson third, Ovenden fourth, Simon Light up into fifth position. Simon started 11th in the Capri, and he's actually just taken fourth away from Tom.
So it's all white on the timing tower for the top four now, so the class is sorting themselves out. How much further is Simon Light going to get up the order here?
You have to wonder whether he had issues in qualifying, because he was 4 seconds off pole in qualifying and 3 seconds slower than some of the drivers with whom he's battling now. So obviously got the car working well now. He goes up alongside Lloyd Jameson now, and that's for third position for Simon Light. And he's now into some relatively clean air. I wonder what further progress he can make. 15 seconds or so, though, behind the leading two. So I don't think he's that likely to catch up to them. A brilliant looking car, though, isn't it? It doesn't look like it's all that happy about going round corners, but yeah, Simon's wringing its neck and certainly utilising the performance it's got in a straight line to good effect.
Yeah, and the great thing is, of course, with the extra car, I mean, significantly the most powerful car out there. But when you get to the tight, twisty bits, he's really got to wrestle it, and he's doing that so well at the moment for P3. How close is he? Long way down on Jack Gadd, isn't he? So he's not going to be able to get P2, but outright podium, good finish for him.
That was always the thing, so I've heard, with the road-going Capri, wasn't it? That it was always pretty good on a motorway or down a long straight road, but take it down a country lane and you had your hands full. But great-looking cars, and you don't see that many Capris racing really these days, so nice to have that beautifully prepared example out on the track. It does run in the Super A class, so it's not necessarily Ford-powered, but a great-looking car, and the engine. Do you know what engine it is in there, where they got the engine from?
Oh, I can't remember. I did speak to him about it at SNET.
It's often a Chevy or something, isn't it? Or, that they stick in those cars. So, yeah, very powerful and performing well here at Silverstone. There's the Puma, meanwhile. That's Kevin Hadfield, all on his own at the moment. I said he's the only Puma on the grid. Normally, we've got a few of them battling for position, but he's found himself a rare bit of clear track. We've lost a couple to the pit lane as well. I mentioned Paul Solb earlier on. Also, Colin Claxton has brought his Zaxby's Escort into the pit lane. He only completed a handful of laps in qualifying, and it was a qualifying session that was interrupted, or actually ended early, because of a red flag as well, because a couple of drivers were stopping at the side of the road. So, and that's why we've got this huge strip of cement dust down the main straight, because they had a fair bit of oil to soak up after that qualifying session earlier on this morning. Look at the people that were stood trackside there on the inside coming out of Cobb's Corner. That was a genuinely big crowd actually gathered trackside to enjoy one of the best spectacles of the weekend. And you know what, Richard, this might be bubbling away quite nicely at the front as well, because that gap was nearly 4 seconds at one point. Jack Gadd now only 2.1 seconds back from Tommy Field, with 5 minutes left to try and catch him. If he keeps this going, let's see what the gap is. It's still about 2.1 seconds. But that's been the trend, hasn't it, today? Races that have come together in the closing stages. This could be another one.
It could be, and it might be traffic-induced, very possibly, as we've got someone pulling off.
97?
Leroy Brown bringing it back.
Well, we wouldn't have known that he'd stopped on track because his transponder's not working, so I'm glad we picked that up.
That's very true. Thankfully, our directors and cameramen, wonderful cameramen, have picked it up.
Indeed so. So there is one of the other
Sierra Sapphire Cosmos, I think, going through. David Matthias, that was, wasn't it? Number 87, down in 8th position. Stephen Scott Dunwoody, by the way, still in 6th place after that moment that he had up at Brooklands a few laps ago. It's there the number 75 car heads through. So let's do class lead. Oh, no, let's not, because we've got another one stopping now down at Brooklands. Number 31, Ben Purnell's RSR. And that's expired very smokily. Now, there are now 2 cars parked, presumably, at that very same location. So I wonder how many more cars we have to have at the side of the road before the race director says, well, we might need to move some of those.
Could well happen. Tom Ovenden enjoying his race at the moment. So Tommy Field still out front. There is Malcolm Harding. I think it was late entry, Malcolm, into the...
Oh dear. Now, I'm not sure now is the best time to diagnose what's wrong with that car. I would be getting out of Dodge if I were you.
Marshall's coming to sort him out. Well done, Marshall.
Yes, exactly. But that is the mentality of a driver, isn't it? The first thing they want to do is get in there, especially drivers.
What do you mean? It's off the track, it's safe.
Exactly, yes. Yes. And, you know, in fairness, they want to make sure there's no more damage going to be done, that there's no fire risk. But, yes, they sometimes put their own safety to one side, don't they, when they maybe shouldn't do. But, right, let's have another stab at class leaders, shall we? Tommy Field leads overall, therefore leads in Super A as well. Tom Ovenden in 5th position is leading his class, that's SB. Oh, there's another one slowing now at the same part of the track. This is one of the Fiestas now, ST150. Can't see the number from this angle, but that's going to join the Ford graveyard now down at the end of the Wellington Straight. Can see from that angle, in fairness, they're quite a long way off the track, aren't they? So should be safe. Right, I'll try again. Tom Ovenden leads in Super B. Stephen Scott Dunwoody is leading in Class A at the moment in 6th place. Malcolm Harding right behind him leads Class B+. Chris Baker down in 13th position in the number 16 car is leading Class B. And I think I missed Class C, didn't I? Class C being led by, scrolling down the timing screen, the number 13 car, which is Dave Barrett, who actually was out-qualified by Gary Littlewood. Those two always have some pretty good battles in Class C, and he's managed to find a way past Littlewood once we got into the race. So, I don't think anything happened in those 20 seconds or so that I was going down through the class leaders, which is a rare thing in this race. What has happened is Tommy Field has started to get his foot down again now, maybe found a bit more clear track, and is now once again 3.6 seconds clear of Jack Gadd. Both
Tommy and Jack, of course, race winners in this series before, so enjoying themselves, no doubt. Class honours absolutely key for it, but Tommy Field, the man out front at the moment. I don't know how many RSR, I need to check how many have been built, because originally it was kind of a fun thing. It was never perceived as being a series or even a champ. I think a lot of people have nagged Sonny Howard of SHP, who builds them, to start a championship, but everybody that's built them tend to build them or put equipment in that's slightly different engines or different running gear. So it would be nice to see a series, but hey, or a championship, but who wants to put that pressure on them? Let's just enjoy them out here.
Exactly, and they still are very welcome within Modified 4. It's the great thing about the very open set of regulations we've got here. There's another one slowing down now. That's one of my favourite cars on the grid, because that's a particularly good example of a Escort Cosworth, and it is the 86 car, which is Scott Matthias. So, now hang on. Scott Matthias is down as a Sierra Sapphire. It's not a Sierra, is it? No, it's definitely not a Sierra. But it is number 86, so it's Scott Matthias with a car change possibly then. Although I didn't see him on the grid, so I wonder if he's changed car after qualifying or something and had to start from the back. But anyway, he is slowing, and hopefully we'll be able to limp back to the pit lane. Otherwise, the poor marshals are going to lose most of their lunch break dealing with car recovery, because there are a handful of them now littered around the side of the track, and they all need to be recovered during that lunch break before we can get the afternoon's racing underway.
Tom Ovenden there, still leading his class 6 position. He'll be out again. Actually, no, he won't be out next weekend, Tom Ovenden. It's not JCW's next week, it's Kuma.
Yeah, that's right.
At Donington Park.
Oh, now the slow Fiesta still going, but exceptionally slowly, right in front of the race leader, who is heading for the checkered flag. So Tommy Field then is going to come through to, in the end, take a fairly comfortable victory, but it didn't look like it was going to be that comfortable. He slides his way nicely out of Luffield corner then, and heads for the line. Checkered flag is going to wave once again for Tommy Field, who wins here at Silverstone. Jack Gadd actually got a bit closer on the final lap or so there, coming home in the end in 2nd position. Simon Light in 3rd. Lloyd Jameson will come home in 4th position. Where is Lloyd Jameson? He's not made it to us yet. He was some way back, actually, wasn't he? Fourth. Simon Light, by the way, only 4.5 seconds adrift of the lead in the end, so pretty impressive stuff. There is Jameson going through in fourth, Stephen Scott Dunwoody fifth, Tom Ovenden in sixth is a class winner, Malcolm Harding seventh, and the rest of them going through that Fiesta really going slowly. I don't think I ever did get a number on that car. Let's see if I can figure it out as it comes through. Still couldn't quite see the number, if I'm honest, as it made its way past them. Let's have a look at... I think it's the number 4. I think that's number 4 that was going very slowly. Nigel Hutton, whose lap times were over a minute off the pace at the end because of whatever mechanical gremlins he'd run into. But anyway, luckily, everyone else avoided him. And we didn't get a nasty-looking incident out on track. So, the modified Fords will head back to the pit lane, and we head into a lunch break now before we go racing again this afternoon. And a busy afternoon. We're not even halfway through today's races, so plenty more racing to bring to you here from the Silverstone National Circuit. Tommy Field wins the race, gets a win in Super A as well, ahead of Jack Gadd, Simon Light and Lloyd Jameson. Stephen Scott Dunwoody is the Class A winner, with Tom Ovenden winning in Class Super B. Malcolm Harding also a class winner in 7th position, that was Class B+. Then David Mathias, Paul Restle and Malcolm Wise complete the top 10. Steve Minton 11th, Paul Neville 12th, and Chris Baker makes it onto page 1 of the results as the winner of Class B. Then further back, Tyler England, Wayne Crabtree, Gary Johnson, Oliver Bullion and Tony Paxman. Mick Head was 20th, Caitlin May 21st, 22nd Aidan Morrison, 23rd Scott Matthias, Dave Barrett the winner in Class C down in 24th, then it was Gary Littlewood, Kevin Hadfield and John Ward. All of these drivers were at least one, if not more, laps down. Dominic Ryan 28th, Mark Mitchell 29th, Nigel Hutton 30th, ahead of Ben Purnell, Leroy Brown. Now getting into those that didn't actually make it to the flag, Army Brown, Claxton, Paul Sold retired to the pit lane early on, and so too did Mike Thurley. So, modified Ford racing done with here for the time being. We'll hear from our class winners probably in a few minutes' time. A reminder that we are now heading into a lunch break. We're heading into it about 10 minutes early, so I don't know whether we'll perhaps be starting about 10 minutes early a little bit later on today. I would imagine we will be. The first TCR UK race of the day due to start at about 25 to 2, so 1:35, but I think we might go a bit earlier than that. During the lunch break, we've actually got a grid walk to be had, so the cars will be released out onto the grid, and you can come out and join them on the grid if you are here trackside. We'll have lots of build-up courtesy of Paul O'Neill ahead of the start of that race, who's busily preparing himself right next to me for the pit walk to come a bit later on, and he'll be getting all of the juicy gossip out of the drivers out on the grid. So, we will hear from TCR drivers a bit later on. They've got 2 races to come with, don't forget, this afternoon. We've also got action from the Ginetta Junior Championship, the ST240 Fiestas, Civic Cup, Audi TTs, Fiesta Juniors, and Modified Fords will be out once more as well later on in the day. Right then, let's head down to Richard, who's got plenty of time to hear with our class winners from the Modified Ford Series.
That sounds like some filling needed. Rather than class winners, it's top 3 in the modified Ford. So let's get Tommy Field over and Jake Gadd. Tommy first, well done.
Thank you very much.
We meet again.
We meet again, exactly. Yeah, good habit to have, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is. Look, fairly straightforward. And we were saying about this type of racing is it can be straightforward until you need to get into traffic, and then I guess the mindset changes.
I reckon I haven't been here since when I was back in the Formula Ford days. I've been to obviously GP and international, but the national circuit, I haven't been here since the Formula Ford. So, and obviously qualifying with the oil down and double yellows, and we just didn't get anywhere, you know. So it's really, we had no idea what to expect in that first race. So just hit it off the start. Car was great, but it's because although it's a short track, you've got quite a lot of hard turns. So the last 4 laps where you had no tyres left at all. So yeah, it's good.
How does it change when you get into the Class Cs? Because obviously you've got performance differential. Those guys are having their own race. Do you have to sort of flick a switch?
You've really got to, you can't just be greedy, and because you've got to realise those two are having a battle. So all he's going to be looking at is him. So you just got to be really careful and pick your moments and get past as best you can.
It was a good lead. It was like swaying from about only 3.5 at the end, 2 seconds at one stage.
Yeah, I come out there the second lap from last and had massive fuel surge. I was about to run out of fuel. So I whacked the boost completely off, short shifted and crossed my fingers. And we go across the line. Thank God. Yeah, it was panicky. I think we put a bit more in for the next one.
We've spoken about the RSRs a little bit before, and they're wonderful kit, very well presented. What do you do with them in between? I mean, do you just park them up? Do you do anything else with it? Or?
No, I mean, as I say, sure, owns this car when I have the privilege of driving it, but I was up there from 9 o'clock Friday morning to 9 o'clock Friday night, prepping it, pads, rear wheel bearings, fluids throughout. New exhaust manifold at Snetterton, it broke itself to bits, so another exhaust manifold, turbo checks. Yeah, there's a lot of work in them. To be honest, the pace you're doing most circuits here, Snetterton, 56 at Snet, when you're pushing something that hard, they just get hurt. It's as simple as that. I think 15 minutes for these is the limit. I mean, we come in from Snetterton, we went up there Friday with no pads left, no fluid left in it. The rear tramp bar was loose and cracked in the axle, so you've just got to be on top of them consistently. But yeah, it's part of it, I suppose, at the end of the day.
You've got to be on top of it in between races. So is there much to do now?
Yeah, we'll get it up again now, nut and bolt check the whole thing. Go through everything, put more fuel in it for sure. Go through that manifold again and then check the tyres. The trouble is these have a live rear axle on the back, so it's a solid axle, so it's not independent, and it puts the rear tyres through some serious stress. I mean, even in that quali, we didn't do a great deal, and we put a new tyre on the rear left, and it blistered it to the point we couldn't use it. So 6 laps. So we're going to have a look what that does now. Maybe do some more setup changes, try and prevent that. But other than that, try and do the same again.
Nice one. Hopefully we'll see you a little bit later on. Thanks. Cheers, Tommy. Always a pleasure. Thanks very much. Jake Gadd takes P2. And again, a nice habit to get to chat to you. RSR based as well.
Yeah, I'm getting used to seeing the back of Tommy at the moment. It's good fun.
What are the differences for our viewers between the two cars, between yours and Tommy's?
They're pretty similar, to be honest, pretty much identical. They're both the turbo, both RSR, so yeah, it makes for a good battle.
Tommy was telling us the grueling schedule we did to put the car together, and then ran it a little bit marginal on fuel from the sounds of it. You were fueled up better?
Yeah, we like to go heavy on the rear just to try and keep it down, but it never works.
And is there much work for you in between race 1 and race 2, or is it just splash and dash, ready to go?
Yeah, I imagine just a refill, have a check over the car, and away we go again.
Enjoyed the racing. It's always wonderful to see the cars. What's your view on when you get into the Class Cs? Because around about a third of the race, the traffic happens for you. You're trying to chase Tommy, probably trying to fend off drivers behind at the same time, and then you've got a multitude of different types of cars that are, of course, welcome on track. They've paid their fees to come and race, but you've got to deal with it.
Yeah, well, like you say, they're having their own race. They've got every equal opportunity to be here like us. So yeah, it's giving them respect as we come through without trying to lose him.
That's good stuff, and obviously you've got to do it all again a little bit later on. It's great value as well, I think, for you guys. I don't know if you were here yesterday, but a lot of the drivers just rock up for the one day, which is quite old school, and it does give you other time, with family or whatever, on day 2 or day 1 in this case.
No, we come up on Friday night, so we get the whole weekend. The paddock's brilliant here, so everyone sort of gets together. It's good fun. So.
Modified Ford Series is going from strength to strength. There's a lot of talk about Series being limited next year. I don't want to particularly open that can of worms, but it's a consultation, we're calling it. And, for something as strong as this, you need your events.
Yeah, I'll probably keep my opinions to myself right now, but it doesn't really make much sense. That's all.
You need the track time, don't you? It's keeping the tracks going. You're giving us some great entertainment. The one thing we don't want to go to all one-make racing, do we? So series like this are terrific to see.
It makes it brilliant racing, Sometimes we have 40, 50 cars turn out and not one car's the same. So it just makes it good.
And I'm not stirring the pot or anything else. It's genuine opinion, which in a consultation, of course, is what we need.
Yeah, exactly. So
we'll get it back on the positive. Jake, great second place. Well done. Good to see you. We'll see you for race 2 a little bit later on. Waiting very patiently, Simon. How are you? Congratulations. The first thing I've got to say is well done. Super drive. We saw some great overtakes there.
Thank you. Yeah, starting from 11th. The quality didn't go quite to plan. Well, I had some pads in at first, and then by the time I had to go at a quick lap, the red flag come out. So, yeah, so it's 11th. But yeah, made for a good race. It was good fun. Surprised to be third. I didn't know where I was really. So, yeah, it was great.
I've asked you the question before, and I forgot the answer. What engine has it got in it?
The Ford modular 32 valve V8 Cobra.
I couldn't remember top of my head, and Andy was having a dig at me for not remembering. It's a beast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a modern V8, all aluminium luckily, and yeah, being a multi-valve, loves to rev, so yeah, it's great.
At the risk of asking, what's your thoughts on the new Capri?
I can't no. awful though. It's
not quite there, is it?
What are they doing? No shame if these manufacturers nowadays on their history. They just don't care.
But yours is, as I say, a completely beautiful car. Same question for the others. Much to do in between races?
in between. No, it's all seemed good. All temperatures all look good. Felt fine. We'll just give it put some fuel in it, obviously, and give it a once over. And
how much of a handful is it around those tighter corners? I mean, Beckett's the first tightish one, and then you get down into the complex. I'm guessing it could be a handful.
Yeah, it's always going to be like turning understeer and power out oversteer. It loves the fast stuff, really. You know, that's where it comes into its own. And yeah, we've only got cops on the national circuit, really. But yeah, you know, it goes well down the straights. So yeah.
I'm guessing you get quite a lot of interest in the car around the paddock as well, because I saw this morning, I was in quite early having a wander around, and there were quite a few spectators taking the chance to come in and see all the different types of Ford machines that were there.
Yeah, they all love it. It's different, but that's for the whole grid. There's so much variation in all the Ford cars. There's a lot of different cars, so that's it's great to see the variation and all the different speeds. So everybody's got somebody to play with, and yeah, so that's good.
Look forward to seeing you for race 2 a little bit later on in the day. You're going to give these RSRs a jump off the start?
That might be the only point I try and get my nose there for a second or two, but no, I don't. No, don't think that's happening. But we'll have a go.
We look forward to seeing it. Simon Light, thanks ever so much for having a chat with us. Congratulations, great drive and a great podium for Simon Light there in the 5-litre Capri. As you heard him say, modern technology under the bonnet in that car. If you're obviously joining us on the stream, make sure you come down to one of the actual meetings and spend a bit of time having a look around these cars. The drivers are very friendly. It's a super open paddock, as indeed all of the paddocks are in terms of the formula that we have racing with us over the weekend here on the BRSCC meetings. It's very much open. The podium's cracking on here, so Katie's doing the honours there.